Hello my friends, how are you today? I'm Andreas from Motorfanatics and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna finish the front suspension of the Subaru. Almost finish the front suspension of the Subaru, and for the first time in a few weeks put it back onto its front legs. And for the first time overall, put it down on its new front legs and see how low will it go. How low will it go? Let's go! While working on the sandblasting cabinet and intermittently spraying some epoxy rust converter and black, I worked on my brake discs and cleaned them up and repainted them as well. I tried to clean up the calipers as well. They are cleaner now, but the paint job actually is fucked up beyond repair. The discs and the pads are still good, but the paint job of the calipers, yeah, is gone beyond repair. Needs to be redone someday. I was aware that I was playing a dangerous game when using the impact gun to remove the bleeder valves. 3 or 4 worked. The 4th ripped off. Fortunately, I had the fitting drills to drill out the M10 thread. So started small, bigger, bigger, bigger. Stopped at 8.5. There's just a hint of sleeve left. And of course I needed to order a new... It's not called thread cutter. I know so much right now, but I forgot what it was called. I probably will blend it in the video after I remember it. You know what I mean. It's not a thread cutter. A taper. No, it's not a taper. A tap? Is it called a tap? Probably. You know what I mean. You speak English better than I do. Probably. Hopefully. Slow and steady, I managed to recut the threads, or to, yeah, dig out what was left of the threads. Some sides worked better than others, but I already checked it and the bleeder valve does go back in, the thread works and it sits reasonably tight. Of course, I don't know if it's really completely fluid tight now, but I'm pretty positive it will be, because that's a very nifty trick, this bleeder valve. There's actually no hole or whatsoever on the bottom, so if you screw it in, it just closes up the hole in there, and when you loosen it a little bit, you open up the bore I showed you in here, and there's a small hole on the side that goes all the way to the screw, through the bleeder valve and on top. And if everything goes right, this little cone will close up the hole and the brake fluid will stay inside. But the second question is, if we loosen it to bleed the brakes, does the brake fluid come out on top or on the side on the threads, because threads aren't as good as new? I guess we'll see. Of course, the new bleeder valves were to arrive today, same as the taps, but they arrive tomorrow. But unfortunately tomorrow is Friday and the video needs to be cut, edited and uploaded today. Why does it always have to be so close? On this side over here, I worked the whole week to force myself through sandblasting. The first knuckle is done. As you can see, it's not perfect, not at all, but it works. I got rid of all the rust, sealed it with 3 coats of epoxy rust converter and 3 coats of heat resistance paint. This should last as long as I do. Over here is the other knuckle. This has not been painted black yet. This is just the rust converter working. And that's why I was so surprised that on the first part the rust converter did not change its color. Because I managed to de-rust the part with sandblasting so well that there was no rust left to convert. So it didn't change color. Now that I didn't work that well as I tried with the first part, the rust converter has some work left to do, and that's how it changes color, as you can see. I already put aside the old bearing, I think race it's called, somebody told me. New bearings with new seals and new whatever it's called. You guys probably can tell me. And new ball joints for the knuckle as well. So that as soon as the other knuckle and the hub gets all of its paint glory, I can start reassembly with the press. Now it gets a little bit more crucial. I've placed the lower ball joint, which was pretty easy because it's not in the car. Everything was clean. It fit directly inside. I put a little bit, really just a little bit, a fingertip of grease on the mounting surfaces inside the ball joint, just to prevent them sticking together again via new rust. I cleaned everything, especially the gaps and the threads. I recut every thread, starting over here, and the small ones for the brakes and the ABS sensor, anti-locking brake in English, ALB, whatever. The sensor that detects if and how fast the prop shaft is spinning, or the wheel, which spins equally as fast. Now we need to put on one of the seals. The seals are different. There are two kinds. Focus. Let's try if he focuses here. Yeah, here's better. This one has a lip. The other one hasn't. The one with the lip sits on the hub right there. There's the lip. So everything just got a smidge of grease, just a little bit, so you can see that there's something on the surface. Remember to clean all the tools you use to press out the bearings, because they will be really, really dirty, and you don't want this dirt in your new bearings. I was a little bit afraid to break the little lip that the bearing sits on, or even break the bearing, but surprisingly it just miraculously worked. So the front seal is now in place. Now I need to put this back in. There are several versions with holes, with these little cut-ins. Just be careful when you put it in that it does not snap back at you. Well, if it fits, I sits, I'd say. Now the seal is the last part again. A little bit of grease, just a smidge, just a tiny bit. And then it most of the time will move right into its no hole. And it does. The outer part of the bearing can't go anywhere now, because on the outside it's stopped by the lip, on the inside via the ring. And now we just need to press the hub inside the knuckle and support the knuckle with the old inner race, I guess it's called. Although I didn't use the inner race but a real spacer, it again just worked fine. The hub's in. The hub does move, it doesn't make any noises. The inner seal, the outer seal in between the hub and the knuckles sits properly. The inner seal still sits. Everything is aligned. Yeah, now I can mount the dust cover and put it back onto the car. Woohoo! Now the left side gets put back together. We've got the lower arm, lower control arm, we've got the steering, we've got the drive shaft, and it's always good to put a little bit of lube on to the teeth where it connects with the knuckle or the hub, but never put any lube or grease onto rings that look like that, like a tooth gear, for example, because those are the corresponding rings for the wheel speed sensor, and if you put grease onto them or something else, it may make the wheel speed sensor put out wrong signals or no signal at all, and your ECU gets confused and your anti-lock brakes will probably don't work or work not as intended. I have to admit I'm a little bit happy because everything went back together far quicker than I expected. Although it's just a mock-up on the left side, the most important components are bolted on, but I still need some parts for the brake bleeders. Just so to interrupt myself, the brake bleeder parts did not arrive in time, and now I'm lowering the car after being lazy and not putting on the back wheels. And here I'm looking underneath the car because the hoist pads stuck to the car, which would have been quite dangerous when hoisting the car back up. And as you can see, the car isn't really that low now, is it? That's really not that low, is it? I think it looks comparatively fine. I would even say maybe a hint higher, just looking at the wheel arches and the small space here and the bigger space in front and back. Just a tad bit higher, that it looks more uniform. Obviously, if I leave the car like that, everything would starting to settle down a little bit more. But I can't, because no matter how low the skyline is, when the Subaru stays here like that, the skyline had to sleep outside and that won't happen. Well guys, that's pretty much it for this episode. If you liked this video, please like, share and subscribe. And if you did, and even if you didn't, I hope we see each other next time. Andreas, Motorfanatics, out!